Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome to the Blade's Edge Mountains. So, hello, everyone. Whoops, right. And hello to Javin, who I was actually talking about yesterday. But alas, hopefully we'll not talk about today.
Greetings.
Let's pick up some quests before we do anything else. Hungry, blood elf. The Great Spirit helps those that help themselves. If you want to earn a meal, I suggest you listen up, because Bragor there isn't going to give you anything for free, nor is tasty. The raptors and scale wings of Razor Ridge and the scale wing shelf have everything that's needed for two of the most delicious dishes you'll ever taste. Bring me their ribs and their flesh, and I'll make some of each for you.
May your blades never dull.
Yes, but I also I had issues sleeping, which I don't actually want to discuss.
Zug Zug.
The Arakoa of Vecnir have been a thorn in our side for many years. Some strange religion guides them. A religion which has the Arakoa in a frenzy of activity. They carry these crystals with them now, which they have turned to some dark purpose. I know something of their rituals. They like to take the crystals to their spell circles and infuse them. We would like to know more. Waylay a few of the Arakoa until you find a crystal. Charge it, and then return it to me.
Strength.
Yeah, no comment, Jedi Mew. I have been blasted for my positive opinion on episode 7 more than once.
Glory.
Hunting silkwing larvae is a difficult challenge even for our young warriors. But even if they fail to harvest the cocoon, we can still use the hatched wings of the silkwings. In fact, we use the wings for so much more than the cocoons, we can never have too much. Okay, I can do something.
Loktar.
And the silk from the cocoons is what we use for all manner of things. It is difficult to harvest, yada yada, so we can go do that. We got this, we got this. Never psychotic. I will never install LVUI, especially since I don't actually like LVUI that much. Not that I like the default, but... Oh, you'd be surprised how many people just absolutely loathe episode 7. And of course, almost every complaint I've heard about it is the exact same complaint. I mean, there are legitimate complaints that can be leveled at episode 7, and I mean that sincerely, as speaking as someone who loved the movie. But there's only one complaint I hear anyone make about it, over and over and over. It's a little bit ridiculous. But anyways. Alright, I'm going to make a brave stab at this one. Kayul? Am I saying that correctly? Maybe? Anyways, hi Kayul. I'm glad you... I guess I'm kind of glad that you want to resub. Tell you what, dude, you should totally wait until Legion comes out. Then you should resub, because Legion's going to be awesome. Is there a quest in Darkshore? I don't understand that, Grey Wolf. I mean, there used to be a quest, like, right here. So, yeah, there's, in fact, yeah, there's still quests there. Something along those lines, yes, game. It's exactly like A New Hope. It's completely unoriginal. It's unoriginal and it's like New Hope. It's a remix of A New Hope or the original series. It's unoriginal. Same complaint over and over and over and over and over. Yeah, that's a fair point, Hylisk. Lots of people hated Legacy of the Void, and if you watched my lore run of that, you know that I loved Legacy of the Void. That was an awesome, epic conclusion, and I absolutely adored it. I need to be a partner for that, Zoan. Now, Javin, I'm going to do a test here. Can you hear me, even if you're having latency issues? I'm just curious. Oh my god, drop rates. Remember yesterday? The ogre key? Welcome to part 2 of Ogre... I'm going to start calling it Ogre Keys. Yeah, I've called it Zevra Hooves for years, that, you know, enemies aren't dropping the item thing. But, yeah, no, now I'm going to start calling that Ogre Keys, because that drop rate last night was absolutely insane. It just would not drop. So, guys, I've just come up with a new phrase, a new term for WoW. Yes, Prog. Lots of people didn't like Legacy. And by lots of people, I mean I hear lots of people complain about it. Oh my god, Ogre Keys. So I guess this is a good time to talk about the Mog'nathal, since Javan can't hear me right now. So the Mog'nathal are actually not a race. I was actually wrong about that, so I apologize. The Mog'nathal actually refers to the type of tribe that they adhere to, regardless of race. Now, logically speaking, the vast majority of the races that are present in the Mog'nathal tribe are, of course, half ogres, half orcs. But the Mog'nathal itself is an organization, not a species. Now, of course, I'm pretty sure the only Mog'nathal we see here are half ogres, half orcs. Oh god, frickin' basilisks. I'm kind of with you, game, on that. I don't want to open that can of worms, because we could talk about Star Wars for hours. And we have in the past. All I will say on it is, for me, there's a difference between aping something that happened previously, you know, just basically copy-pasting, and paying homage to it. And I felt like Episode 7 was paying homage, not aping. Just my opinion. Hey, Genghis. By the way, hey, Magister. The Magister of Quel'Thalas. I like that name, by the way. Hey, Nero's house. Farewell, Myron. I really, really wish I was a Twitch partner. It's funny because I think I want to be a Twitch partner for, like, the most unusual reasons. Like, most people want to be a Twitch partner because they want to make money off of streaming. I do make money off of streaming. I have a donation button down there, and you guys are awesome enough to donate to it. That's how I make my money. I don't really care about the subscriptions so much as the fact that being a partner means that you get priority on bandwidth, and that you get priority on alternate viewing forms. For example, did you know that if you were to try and watch me on mobile right now, I may or may not be viewable on mobile, because they don't actually provide regular support for non-partners on mobile viewing. It's kind of silly. I mean, I get it. But that's the main benefit of being a partner to me. Is being able to not have to deal with all that. Anyways, so yes, getting back to the Mog'nathal, I agree with what Leander said, and it is true. It is actually probably very common for the ogres and the orcs to interbreed. Now, that's not as unusual as you'd think, especially given the age of most of these Mog'nathal. Which brings me to the ogres in general. Because I actually want to talk about the ogres a little bit before we get to warlords. So how many of you out there have ever heard of this concept of the cycle of violence? I just killed a squirrel. Yes, they are, Prog. Not to get into Star Wars again, but you know what's funny, Hylas, because they could have had the same impact pact without having a super weapon. Just have a fleet instead of the super weapon that warps in and just starts bombarding the planet. Same impact. Have the people on the planet look up and see the blasts coming from space. They can't even see the ships, because the ships are so high up in orbit. They just see rain of death coming down, destroying and killing all of them. Same impact, no super weapon. Hey, Mind Blast. Bingo! Leander has it right on the market. So, the idea of the cycle of revenge is actually really simple. Yes, I do, Lapstick. At least I think I do. I'd better have it cranked up to Ultra. If anything is not an Ultra, it is a mistake. Yep, nope, we're on Ultra. Okay. So, Group A commits violence against Group B. Group B gets revenge on Group A, but then they commit violence on Group C because they were the ones who were under the heel for so long by Group A. Group C then beats Group B, and then goes on to have violence against Group D, and so forth and so on. That's the idea of the cycle of violence. I agree, Prog. I think actually showing a base Delta Zero on camera and showing the glassing of a planet would actually have been more horrifying than what we saw. Just my opinion on it. Okay, so we started talking about how the thanks, Druid. We started talking about how the orcs aren't exactly good people. I mean, I don't want to sound disingenuous, because I'm never going to be the kind of person who's going to look at an entire race of people and judge them based off of a few individuals. However, there's absolutely no denying the fact that there's a large number of orcs who, by choice, are willing to do horrible, terrible things. Hey, Kimmick. You know, a large number of orcs chose to follow the demonic horde. A large number of orcs chose to join Garrosh. And a large number of orcs chose to become part of the Iron Horde. Not all orcs. God, no, not all orcs. But a decent number of them. But I've often felt that one of the biggest reasons for the orcish mindset is because of their culture. Because they have always lived in such a violent, desperate existence. They've had a very warlike culture, as Leander points out. By the way, hi, Kimmick. Did I say that already? Well, funny fact. If the cycle of violence thing is true, and I have no reason to believe it is not, that pretty much means we can thank the Gronn for everything. Hey, Thork. Allow me to go down the list to really explain this one for you. So, once upon a time, and I mean a long time ago, the Gronn ruled the entire planet, basically, with only a few exceptions. After the Apexis civilization, which, as I've said, I still believe was actually a Titan organization. Anyways, after the Apexis went away, the Gronn were the dominant power on the planet. And they pulled a Goa'uld. If you don't know what I mean by a Goa'uld, this used to be Gorgrond and Frostfire Ridge Jedi Mew, and it was smashed together to make this. So if you don't know what I mean by that, the Goa'uld over in Stargate are like, oh, we are gods, and we are gods, and we are gods, and gods are we, and you know, other stupid crap like that. So the Gronn insist. Oh, jeez, that scared the crap out of me. Stupid frickin'. That really did startle me. Just all of a sudden, shadowy fingers and claws. And anyways, so the Gronn insisted that they were deities to the ogres, and they insisted on being treated as such. Now, unfortunately, the Gronn were also, similarly to the Goa'uld, incredibly abusive of the ogres, and treated the ogres as if they were little more than trash. Then a little bit later, a particular ogre, who I'll talk a little bit more in detail when we really start talking about the Gorian Empire, killed a Gronn. Enraged and furious, he killed a Gronn, ate his bones, ate his marrow, thereby proving that he was not a god. And he made a house out of his corpse. Now that sounds pretty morbid, and it Kind of is. But there's a point to that other than that, because it's it's a very ogre way of thinking. He made this massive house, but he and his little family wouldn't fit in it. So he invited other ogres to join him in his rebellion against the Gronn. Well, when they came in, there were too many ogres now to fit. So they had to go kill another Gronn. But with the second one, now they had too much room again. So now they had to invite more ogres. But then they had... And it just kind of went back and forth a few times. And this was the foundations of the Gorian Empire. The Gorian Empire I will talk about in much, much more detail when we get to Warlords, because it's much more relevant there. But, suffice it to say, the Gorian Empire was a massive, incredibly powerful, very Roman Empire-esque kind of a thing. Here's the problem. This is where the cycle of violence comes in. The ogres were then brutal, horrible, terrible taskmasters who abused every creature they enslaved, including the orcs. And so the orcs grew up under this horrible, terrible oppression of the ogres. And that's why the orcs have such a terrible, warlike culture, is because they've been abused since basically the beginning. So like I said, we can more or less literally blame the Gronn for most of the horrible, deplorable acts.
What can I help you with?
That the orcs have committed over the many long years. So thanks, Gronn. Appreciate that. Oh, whoop, 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 whoop.
Be safe.
Actually, it's funny, One Joker. The orcs, near as we can tell, didn't come from anything. Like, if there's an origination or an ancestor or whatever to the orcs, I don't know what it is.
Mog'nathal.
I can taste them already. Quickly, hand them over. I'm gonna dice them up into the fire. Lucky for you, this stuff keeps, and I mean for a long time. So here you go. Ribs and serpent.
Fight well, friend.
I could theorize in a vacuum about where the orcs came from, but it is likely the orcs are actually one of the indigenous species of Draenor. Of which there are not that many, actually. Since we're pretty sure that the Apexis were not an indigenous species, and that's where the Arakoa come from. And we know for a fact that the Magaron are not an indigenous species, and that's where the Gronn and the ogres come from. So that doesn't leave much. Oh, the orcs, excuse me, the orcs. The Titans absolutely visited Draenor. We know that for a fact. We actually encounter a few, not many, but a few Titan artifacts and a few Titan influences when we go through Draenor. So, like I said, the orcs could be indigenous, kind of like the trolls were to Azeroth, or they could be another byproduct of some kind of experiment. We don't actually know. Believe it or not, magic is the one joker. They actually reference magic being a food preservative most commonly. That and salt, I suppose. Anyways, so we have helped the tailors out. That's pretty much literally what we've done there.
Be safe.
But let's see what these guys have to say.
Makra.
The Vecnir Arakoa have been benign for many years, but now something is stirring them. Ah, look how it glows. I must try this at once.
Dabu.
Canis, hold still. I'm going to use this crystal.
Strength and honor.
Interesting. Let me try something. Kansas, you are a chicken. Fascinating. If you ever do that again, I will break your neck.
Blood and thunder.
I have fashioned 4 wands that I believe will enhance the power of the Arakoa's Apexis. Excuse me, we don't know it's Apexis yet. Crystals. Take these wands to Trogma's claim and try them on the ogre slaves. You'll need to find an infused crystal in the area. When you figure out which one is best, come back to me.
Farewell.
Whip, whip, whip. There's another quest.
Loktar.
Leorix looks at you in the eye. You come to Mog'nathal, but you do not understand us. You don't understand our struggle to survive. If you would understand us, then you must endure a taste of that struggle. To the south are the Vecnir Arakoa. They have enslaved a group of ogres in the caverns known as Trogma's Claim, and their leader, Vec, is in there. Slay him.
Go forth to victory.
My personal thoughts on that, Zoan Joker, is that magic is basically reinforcing the structure of the food, which makes you wonder what happens when you start chewing it, you know? Unless that, like, breaks the enchantment, which is possible. Actually, it's funny you ask that, Magister. I was going to mention that. So, we kill a lot of the Gronn in our journey through Outland. We take out all of the 7 big Gronn, all of the leaders of the Gronn, and of course we kill Gruul himself. Now, there are other Gronn, you know, lesser Gronn here and there. But we basically take out every single one... whoops. There we go. We basically take out every single one of the major Gronn forces in Outland. Stop that. And, as a consequence, the Gronn aren't genocided. You know, they still exist as a species. But as a major political power, they have effectively stopped being one. For good and for ill. That could be as well, Progue, since we know Arcane Mastery has no problem influencing time. Jeez, Braglin, really? I'm sorry. Psst, you should totally whisper me the spoiler. It's probably one I already know. I've been getting spoiled a lot of Legion recently. Well, kind of in response to what Hylas said earlier, not what he just said just now. It is within the realm of possibility that... Oh, hang on. Oh, quick, quick! There we go. It is within the realm of possibility that the Gronn being wiped out is a good thing. No, I'm saying that wrong. The idea here is that because of the whole cycle of violence thing, it is extremely likely, especially given the choices that a lot of these groups make... Oh, hello. That they actively, even if, like, we left the Gronn alive, considering we have taken out their strongest leaders, the rest of the Gronn have been wiped out by the ogres and the orcs because, screw them! You know, we've been under their heel for so long, we will crush them like bugs. So even if we don't actually genocide them, we may have opened the door for them to be genocided. But yeah, several of us are trying to avoid Legion spoilers. At this point, I'm kind of given up avoiding Legion spoilers, because I just keep getting spoiled. And it kind of helps to talk about a few things. That is not one I knew, Braglin. Interesting. I knew something else related to that, but I didn't know that was the consequence. I actually tend to agree with you, Hylas. The only problem is that I have to sneeze. Okay. The only problem is... Pardon me, guys. Anyways, the problem with in having those influences from warlords affect our world is because we have done so much to change warlords' history that at this point in time, Azeroth's history will be so completely fundamentally changed, it would basically be a completely new Azeroth. The only way to make that not literally redo all of Azeroth's history, of not Azeroth, but our Azeroth, like completely undo everything we know about, you know, Kalimdor and East Kingdoms and all that, the only way for that to happen would be if we do the merger idea, which I've talked about several times. Have the two timelines merge into a single timeline. Hey, King Bubble. So we get bits and pieces of both timelines in the new cohesive timeline. Yeah, sure, why not? Well, see, there's one kind of thing... Hey, Lumplord, by the way. Yeah, kind of like FF5's Third World. That is a great parallel to what I'm talking about. For those of you who have not played FF5, at one point in time, the two worlds merge into a singular world. And doing so kind of keeps bits and pieces of both in a more unified setting. So doing so would require some work on behalf of the writers and developers to figure out what would be existent in the new cohesed timeline, in the new cohesed universe. But once you do that, it would be fairly well established, I think, and fairly easy to keep canon.
May your blades never dull.
Just my thoughts on it, anyways. And there is one really, really horrible thing, though. And I mean just really, really horrible thing. And that is the fact that the Legion is not alternate. The Naru are alternate. The Draenei are alternate. You know, everything is alternate in alternate Azeroth, or alternate Draenor, except for the frickin' Legion, which is the dumbest thing in the universe. And that throws all of that out the window. If there is only one Legion, one series of demons across all of the multiverses, that just throws all the possibilities of the multiple shards of reality into question and into stupidity. And I hate that. I will talk more about that, though, later. I'm trying not to talk about Warlords, damn it. Hi, Last Echo. Hey, Ginja Ninja. I said your name wrong again, didn't I? Sick or something. Yeah, I've been sick for the last several days, Lumplord. Trust me. This is it. This is me getting much better. You should have heard me the last few days. So, this information will be very helpful. I will further refine that design, see if I can expand its utility. The information you've helped me reveal about the nature of the Arakoa here will be of... Or he's going to turn in a quest while I'm turning it, so I guess we'll... I suppose because they don't really have a lot of story relevance, Zewan. I don't know what else to add to that, really. We do see a few mercenaries, but as you point out, not that often. The Vecnir are the least of our adversaries, so you know how to slay an overgrown bird. This does not make you a true warrior. This does not give you a full understanding of our ways. But it's a start. Since time forgotten, we have fought with the Bladespire ogres. We have managed to push them back so that they only hold a tenuous grip on the Bladespire outpost. It's back the way you came in, on the southwestern edge. Prove your worth to me. Kill their leader, Nosh Brognot. Let's see what you're made of when fighting ogres.
Go with honor. Strength and honor.
The information you've helped me reveal about the nature of the Arakoa here will be of great interest to another. We were visited by members of the Scryer Expedition, who've been concerned with the Arakoa's intentions. You should seek him out. His name's Timian. You'll find him in the Evergrove. Well, we'll be doing that next, basically. We'll be waiting until we're done with the Mog'nathal to do that.
Speak.
There is the right way to honor one's ancestors, and there is the wrong way. The Bladespire ogres carry totems with them, but do not use them to show respect. Instead, they use them to manipulate and control. We should steal their totems because they are unworthy. We will put them to better use.
Taboo.
Now that quest right there pretty much highlights Mog'nathal mindset in a nutshell. We know what we're doing better than you do. We are better than you are, so screw off. And that sounds like a bit of an exaggeration, but that really is the Mog'nathal mindset. They are very standoffish and really don't want to have anything to do with anybody if they can avoid it. And for the record, the concept of multidimensional beings doesn't bother me on the face of it, but the way it's being executed bothers me. And the fact that it's inconsistent with itself bothers me. And the fact that they have ill-defined terms for how it functions bothers me. And I could mention a few other things, but I think you get the point. In blunt, though, it's pretty much the same thing that bothered me about DC. The DC multiverse. There's a reason that the Crisis of Infinite Earths happened, after all. Even the people at DC were like, okay, this is a mess. We need to fix this. And then, of course, they fixed it, and then they unfixed it, and then they unfixed it, and we're just going to stop talking about that now. And again, the fact that they just keep insisting over and over and over again that they have no interest in alternate Azeroth and they'll never touch on alternate Azeroth, and you should just not even... almost a direct quote from one of the developers was, "From the writing perspective, we're pretending as if alternate Azeroth does not even exist." The mere fact that they are saying that really indicates that they never wanted to make this a multi-dimensional story. Now, I want to make that statement clear, because if they wanted to make a multi-dimensional story, that's kind of its own thing. That's a different type of thing, and while it's not my cup of tea, if they went into it with that intention and design and planned it out carefully and laid out the rules carefully, that could actually work. But that's not what they did. They wanted to go back and become... and go back to Draenor. That's what they wanted, regardless of consequence. This is a paladin, Ginger Ninja. Hopefully I'm saying that more accurately this time. And we are crushing the hell out of everything. Well, I hope you have fun if you decide to do so, Betty Bane. What is a paladin? A miserable little pile of secrets. I get that question all the time. Question, I should put that in quote unquote. I get that question all the time on my channel. It's funny how many of my viewers have played Ultima. So the last thing I want to mention about the Mog'nathal actually has to do with the ogres, believe it or not. The original ones are, yes, Jedi Mew. Any Blood Elf who became a paladin before the events of Warcraft 3 or after the events of Burning Crusade would just be a paladin. We wouldn't necessarily be a Blood Knight. Yes, a fairly large number of the ogres in this area used to be elites. When they did the Passover, or the pass-through of a lot of the different quests, they removed, apparently, I should say, they removed a lot of the elite status from a lot of mobs. Oh my god. Ah, neck. Oh, did not sleep well. Okay. I'll talk a little bit more about the ogres as soon as I turn in these quests.
Blood and thunder.
We've taken their totems from them. Yes, yes, we should be able to find a respectful use for one or two of them. In fact, I have an idea for how we could do just that. The spirits of the Nether Drakes in Singing Ridge are in need of liberation. The Nether Drakes were not always Nether Drakes. They used to be Black Drakes. But then with the destruction of... Yeah, I've already explained what the Nether Drakes are.
Strength. Blood and thunder.
The death of Nash Brognod is a boon to all the Mog'nathal. That is a good thing for you. Let us see if we can push the boundaries of your prowess just a bit more. My hunters have returned from a scouting mission to the Singing Ridge. It seems that the Nether Drakes, which infest the crystals there, have increased greatly in number, and threaten to spill into our laps. Since you've proven yourself a competent slayer, let's see your skills against the match of an adult drake.
for the Horde.
Ignoring the fact that I've killed, you know, Nefarian at this point in time. But anyways. Yes, Prog. Are you kidding? I was one of the people who kickstarted it. Anyways, so the ogres, right? One of the things. Actually, I think I'll save that for later because we're going to go to Ogrila after this. So why don't we discuss the ogres later? Instead, why don't we mention something about the Nether Drakes? Now, I've already kind of explained who and what the Nether Drakes are. One of the most important things to consider about the Nether Drakes is that they are very hostile, but they are not corrupted. That's a very, very important distinction between the two. Oh, right, I need to do that. And it's very natural that the Nether Drakes would be hostile, given the fact that they are such hunted and hated creatures within this general vicinity. There we go. I mean, just what the Dragonmaw are doing with them alone would kind of make them be this terrible, horrible creatures. Oh, and by the way, these are Apexis crystals that are around here, which makes it logical to me, of course, why the Nether Drakes would bother to nest and roost and otherwise hang out in this particular vicinity, because Nether Drakes can derive a degree of sustenance from Apexis crystals. See, the only problem with that theory, Bragwin, is that presumes that there are two Sargerases. Or that Sargeras was able to do the actions in one at a different time relative to him than he did the actions of the other. Which, again, is one of the problems with having multidimensional beings. If you have multidimensional beings, and you don't lay down some careful and consistent rules for them, you run into questions like, well, at what point in time was insert being here doing here, when they was doing the same thing over here, and just... I mean, when did Kill Jaden have time to try and corrupt the orcs of alternate Draenor, given the fact that he actually, as of our timeline, was present, has been just banished back to the Nether, thanks to our actions at the Sunwell, and also keeping in mind that he'd already, at that same point in time, tried to corrupt the orcs of our universe, and so on and so forth. You get the idea. He was right here. Damn it, did I just miss him? I think I did. I'm stupid. Warlords of Draenor is what WoD is, aka the most recent expansion. I had to pull an FF13 rule. For those of you who are not here when I was doing my Final Fantasy marathon, as we were playing through FF1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, people would not stop talking about FF13. And people kept being like, oh, let's discuss FF13. Oh, let's ask about FF13. Oh, let's talk about FF13. And it got to the point where I had to make a no FF13 rule, because we were going to play FF13. There he is. And, you know, I kind of wanted to talk about FF13 while playing FF13. So, yeah, so we've had the same problem. We were like, oh, let's talk about Warlords. I mean, hell, we're talking about Warlords right now. We're talking about the alternate dimensions things right now. Just to prove my point. Hey, Dakota. So I had to kind of institute a no Warlords rule because we kept talking about it before we're anywhere near it, you know? I mean, it's logical to talk about some of Warlords as we're going through BC. That makes sense. But I'm trying really hard not to run out of things to do once we get to Warlords, you know? I will say this is just a preference thing. I don't like settings that use the multiple timelines thing. I don't like that, personally. I never have. I prefer a single timeline, whether it can be changed or not. I know, Hylisk. It was so funny in its own right. I'm still having a few issues, Dakota, but thank you for the fact that you are making me feel very self-conscious. Yeah. One last thing to point out of ridiculousness. This is just silly. So Archimonde is defeated right about here in our timeline. And then naturally, the next thing that happens is his spirit is recalled to the Nether. Okay, we know that's how that works. And then it's pushed back into the past. No explanation is ever given for the fact that Archimonde's spirit reconstitutes in the past. Anyways.
Strength and honor.
The Drakes of the Singing Ridge may pose a threat to us, but I think they are majestic creatures. Or at least they were. I hope you were able to save their spirits. You have done a good thing this day. The spirits of the Drakes will truly sing again now that they have been freed. And the residual part of their spirit that they leave behind is a powerful medicine, too. I wonder, are you up for a journey to the north? There's something I'm curious about of the activities of the Ethereals. I sense a great deal of pain coming from that direction. The Razani Ethereals have built strange devices that emit small pink floating light orbs. They remind me of souls. They're not to be confused with the large yellow balls that break free of the Ethereal when they die. These are something new. I'd like for you to head north to Razan's Landing and drop some totems which will attract them. Bring them back to me so I may figure out what they are.
For the Horde! Sug.
You slew Dreadwing? Perhaps I was wrong about you, Paladin. Perhaps. Still, you have slain the chiefs of the 3 greatest threats we face. That is something to be proud of. I offer you a token of my appreciation, but don't let it go to your head. You still do not fully understand what it is to be Mog'nathal, and we may still need to call upon your... Oh my god! Your skills.
Strength.
Guys, this is the chess piece I just got. It's the only thing uglier than the one I have on right now. Look at that thing. God. But I'll keep it for Zaman Joker, because he's a weirdo. Hey, Kevin. The real problem with the time travel thing is actually very simple. Sometimes a writer sits down and says, I want to make a story and I don't want you to think about it. And that's pretty much the problem right there. In my opinion, the moment the only defense you have for a story is don't think about it, like that's the only thing you can do in order to try and make it an enjoyable story, especially from the perspective of a writer, I don't actually think that I think at that point you have failed as a writer. I think that at that point you are no longer really capable of calling yourself a good writer. You know what I mean? I think that's terrible. Oh, jeez, I hate this quest. Anyways, Ginger Ninja. The bar below my abilities. Oh, that's our donation incentive over there for which transmog outfit we'll be wearing. In other words, which cosmetic outfit, basically. I do not like this quest. Because I'm Batman. How did Batman get away with a nuclear bomb and then escape to survive and tell the tale? Because he's Batman. What do you mean? Okay, I don't fully get your question, Hylas. You're going to have to help me out. There have been good time travel stories, in my opinion, yes. There have also been good stories that include time travel, which is a distinction, by the way. There have been several instances of, like, okay, here's a, you know, I want to include time travel in my story, but I'm not good at it, so I'm just going to make a good story, and then time travel happens to be in it. To name a direct example of what I mean by that, I would argue that Back to the Future is a great trilogy of movies. I know many, many people would disagree with me on that, and those people are all wrong. But seriously, though, the interesting thing about the Back to the Future movies is they were really good movies that happened to include time travel. The only part of those movies where the time travel was really in the forefront was actually in a particular section of Back to the Future 2, where they kept going over the events of Back to the Future 1 from a different angle, which was brilliant. But Back to the Future 2, Back to the Future overall was actually a good story that happened to include time travel, if you understand the distinction. Very likely, yes, Magister. I'd be amazed if we didn't. Ah, gotcha. So, I guess you missed that, Hylisk. The Ethereals are they're space travelers / dimension travelers. I actually did a little bit more reading about that, and you know how WoW likes to flip-flop between whether space travel exists or doesn't exist? And the only reason for that flip-flop is because people complained, by the way. I want to make that point clear. People are like, I don't want space travel. Well, to hammer this in, the Ethereals both space and dimensionally travel. That's actually part of their lore. They were originally from a planet whose name I don't remember, but we'll be talking about it in more detail when we get to the Nether Storm because it'll be relevant there. And that planet was consumed by a Void Lord named Dimensius, an extremely powerful void being, and that entire planet was devoured. And the Ethereals we see are survivors, those who have barely managed to escape the devastation of their homeworld. I actually like both, admittedly. I like the idea of them doing both. It makes a degree of sense to me. It means they probably travel to and from things like, say, the Twisting Nether, in addition to different planets. That's just something I find enjoyable. But my brain is probably too boring, because I tend to think of any given, fantasy setting as being on a planet, rather than a dimensional plane, because that's the way I think. In my defense, we know for a fact that Draenor and Azeroth are both planets. But, again, shrug. Unlike some fantasy settings where it's more debatable. Alright. I have your orbs. What are these things? Please, hand me the totem. I must examine those orbs. Quickly, you must inform Leoryx. These orbs were comprised of souls, and some of them were Mog'nathal.
Victory!
So this is where we find out that the Ethereals can compress souls into energy. I actually referenced this a while ago, because the whole reason that the monotombs were so valuable to the Ethereals was because they could set up these devices which compressed the thousands and thousands of souls in the tombs of Auchindoun into energy. And remember, the Ethereals use energy as a currency. So that was literally them, like if you could imagine, if you could dig up dead bodies from a graveyard and those dead bodies literally just turn into, money, that's pretty much the equivalent of what these guys are doing.
What do you need?
What you say is even possible? What am I saying? Of course it is. The spirit callers say so. Remember before when I said we might need your further assistance? It would seem I can tell the future.
Dabu.
There can be only one response to this. This defilement of our souls of the ancestors. Valvaxus, if you would aid us in restoring the souls of our honored dead to their rightful place, go back to the Razad's Landing and kill the Razani until their leader, the Nexus Prince Razan, shows his cowardly face. Kill him! Get those souls back and bring them to the Spirit Caller.
Strength.
Anyways. So, funny little factoid about these guys. You might be thinking, oh my god, these people are horrible for stealing the souls of the Mog'nathal. And that's probably true. Remember, this is a setting where souls are a very real, tangible thing. And therefore, they're basically taking living people and turning them into fuel. In fact, Final Fantasy VII has a parallel to this with the Lifestream and the overuse of Mako energy. Living souls being tossed out, burnt up and tossed out every day, kind of a thing. Yeah. However, I just want to point out that from the perspective of the Ethereals, this is just normal. They're not doing this out of any form of malice. They're doing this because it's a resource. And they want to use that resource. That's it. That's all it is to them. This is just an everyday mining operation. They don't think any more about this than we think about drilling for oil, you know? To them, it's just, yep, another day at the office. Mining all the souls. Before you think I'm being too apologist for the Ethereals, try to remember the Ethereals do this to themselves too. They recycle their own lives when they die back into energy. That is also how they reproduce, by the way. They take this energy, which they are made of, which, as we've already pointed out, consists of, at the very least, can consist of soul energy, and they craft new Ethereals out of it. But again, what they are doing here is pretty horrible. If the funny thing is, this kind of helps emphasize the difference in perspective amongst the Ethereals. Some of the Ethereal groups will go out of their way to try and arrange situations so that they have permission and foreknowledge. They'll walk up to people and like, you know, we want to harvest the souls of your dead. And some people will be like, okay, we're okay with that. Some Ethereals will walk up and just start harvesting the souls of the dead, whether they have permission or not. Some of them are just interested in the bottom line, and some of them are more interested in the connections between the people. Now, in response to Ginger Ninja's question, my best advice for playing FF6 is to love every moment of it. Oh, sorry. To my knowledge, Magister, there is no cinematic I will not be playing. If that answers your question. That's a good question, King Bubble. No, but stop comparing them to goblins, damn it. I mean, I guess there are certainly similarities between these creatures and the goblins, but really the difference is the fact that the Ethereals are more interested in the connections and the trade and whatnot, whereas the goblins are more interested in the bottom line. You're terrible, Jedi. The other thing to keep in mind, though, is that some of the Ethereals go out of their way to cultivate strong relations with other races because they believe that that would be more beneficial long term. And that's a logical conclusion to make. And oh my god, would you summon already? I think I need a couple more souls to power the soul thing. Seriously, that's basically what I'm doing. I'm shoving souls into this here. That's another thing. Goblins are more interested in explosions than they are in money. Oh, there he is. Pwah. I'll just take those souls. Only in a game like this could you be carrying around a box of souls. Just, here it is. Now, there's a little bit more detail to the Ethereals and how messed up they are. Well, some of them are. I really should say that, because, again, the Ethereals are like any other culture. They've got their goods, their bads, and their in-betweens. Most of the Consortium are pretty much the good guys, along with the Protectorate. The Ethereum are pretty much the bad guys, and there's a few in-betweens that we've been encountering as we go. Too true, Venters.
Thrallhall.
Have you done it? Are the souls of our ancestors recovered from the evil of the Ethereals? Ah, the Ethereal filth and their leader are dead. I wish 1,000 plagues on their brethren. You are to be rewarded for your actions on behalf of the Mog'nathal. You are truly one of our heroes. Now to release the souls of our ancestors into a cleansing fire. So I can just picture all these souls that are like, yay, we're free. Oh god, the fire! It burned! Oh god, why? Why? No, I would argue the Netherzeem are not like any other culture, because there are no good Netherzeem. There are also no neutral Netherzeem. We have never, ever seen a Netherzeem, or even a hint of a Netherzeem, that is anything other than evil. They are one of the few truly horrifically evil creatures that we've seen as far as a race. There are hints that some other races might have more neutral creatures out there. At least the possibility exists. But there has not even been a hint of that for the Netherzeem. The Netherzeem culture, actually we do know a little bit about their culture. It is purely parasitic, however. In other words, they don't actually have a a culture of their own. The only thing that they do, culturally speaking, is exist within other creatures' cultures and use them to their own ends. That's it, really. Okay, tabards that are black. The Shattered Sun comes to mind immediately, Venters. Hang on. There's also... Ram Kahan is a really dark blue, so that might be acceptable. There's also the Dragon Maw clan, if you're Horde. What else we got here? The Warsong Battle Tabard, again, Horde. And that appears to be it. There's your options. Really psychotic.
What brings you here?
Ah, yes, Dertrak. We spoke briefly about the Arakoa. I must say our interest in them very significantly.
Farewell.
So, here we have the actual Scryer Expedition. I want to stress again how much I am amused by this situation. So the Scryer Expedition, who I want to re-stress for like the third time now, is a very non-political organization who wants nothing to do with politics, moves into the Blade's Edge Mountains and uses extensive efforts in order to try and terraform the area, yada yada yada. Very next thing that happens is the Alliance moves in and basically just squats on Sylvanar and says, yep, this is an Alliance camp now. And there are, of course, Alliance druids there who kind of take up the work. But the expedition just says, we're going to move on. We're going to leave. Bye, Alliance. And the Alliance is like, wait, no, come back. You are clearly on our side, right? And the expedition says, no, we're going over here now. And so they establish a new town just for the expedition, just so they can have this neutral outpost rather than actually being tied down by the Alliance. Anyways.
Ishnuala.
The Arakoa of the Ruan Weald elevate their flock with the Harbingers of the Raven, heralds of their god. They believe the Harbingers watch over them from the sky, where they receive the teachings of the Raven, and descend to pass this message along. The Harbingers hold powerful sway over the souls of the Arakoa, and they use magical pendants to do this, which we need.
May the stars guide you. What brings you here?
When we arrived in the Ruan Weald, the worm cultists were keeping to themselves to the Blackwing Coven, through the tunnels to the west, but now they are encroaching upon us here. I need you to find the worm cultist's overseer. He is known to make a regular patrol between the various camps in the Ruan Weald. Negotiate with him. Let him know that there's not room for compromise, but we will not condone or allow the wholesale slaughter of the wildlife, nor the felling of the trees.
We shall meet again.
Yeah, I said that, Zuan. You know, we don't 100% know, King Bubble. So I don't really have a solid answer for you on that one. If you follow the road east, up the sides of the mountain, you will come to my long-lost home. Once there was a wood there, its name long forgotten. The Burning Legion summoned scorched imps and other creatures of flame. My home was destroyed and my people fled. Now only I remain. Oh, sorry. I should be speaking as if this was an Ent from Lord of the Rings. I saved some iron root seeds that could be planted in fertile volcanic soil. What? And now, we'll do this in a slightly different voice.
Northeast of here, on the plateau above us, lies the burnt ashes of my ancient home. A great wood flourished there before the Burning Legion sent their imps to destroy us. So many died that even centuries later my old heart hungers for revenge. There are too many of them for us to reclaim the land, but you can make them afraid. Will you help me?
We've only just finished saying hello.
What is nature's call?
I was trying to do it even faster, but I can't actually do a fast voice. I am not the Micro Machines guy. Sorry, guys. The last boss in Alcatraz is a Karaji, is what that species is referred to as. A specific form of Karaji, which I don't know the name of, but it is a Karaji. The number of atrocities committed by the Burning Legion is countless. Even as we speak, they send their Legion forces against the creatures of this land. Helpless to defend against their power, they fall one by one. Please, help me stop these crimes of nature and stop them from destroying all that they corrupt. Okay. I'm okay with stopping corruption. I'm good with that. I want to help out the Scryer Expedition as a true Horde member. Anyways. No, not that. These guys. Yeah, the Mindbenders, that's what they're called. Anyway, so in response to the one Joker's favorite class, in-game, Warrior. Easy answer. Warrior is definitely my favorite class. To play as, I should say. Sorry, Ginger Ninja, we've got the security turned up, because, yeah. In lore, that's a lot trickier. I am tempted to give it to shamans, or druids, or warlocks, or mages, or paladins. I think all of those are basically tied. Favorite mount? Do you even need to ask? Behold! This is actually not the exact favorite mount, but I didn't feel like waiting for the other one. My second favorite mount is this one. Let's see, what am I doing? I need claws. 6 claws. They count sheeps. They're very bored. No, actually, we do know exactly what the old gods have been doing. They have been planning to get out and have been influencing the world because, despite being imprisoned, they seem to have no trouble influencing everything around them. Which is funny in its own right. They can write a book. They already have written books. It's usually written in gibberish, though. So this is really off topic, but has anyone out there played, oh shoot, I suddenly can't think of the name of it. There's a board, well, it's not a board game, it's a tabletop game. It's actually a card-related game. Where you have to, like, you have to come up with words, and the different words you write out give you different points, and basically the more, the different type of letters you use give you better points, that kind of a thing. And the catch is, the higher, the more complicated the words you make, the higher of a dice roll you have to make in order to not go insane. And once you go insane, the game actually gets... Unspeakable words! That's it, unspeakable words. And once you go insane, you can just make up any word you want to. And just come up with a definition for it. Like... You can come up with Bograflark, which is when you are trying to kill Arakoa for their claws, and for some reason they're not dropping it. You say, Boggleflark! You know, that kind of a thing. It's a fun game. I played it briefly at Gen Con. Very briefly. We just had like one match of it. It's a lot of fun. I have seen the pics of that, yes, Mind Blast. I'm curious what they're actually going to put into it. Who hasn't played Cards Against Humanity? Also, I would just like to say, I don't actually like Cards Against Humanity that much. Please don't hate me. I generally don't enjoy that kind of humor, I think is probably the best way to put that. Also, hi, Darker. Okay. Is this... No, right over here. I think. Yes. What? Oh, maybe it's this one. I'm sorry, Psychotic. Aha! I knew it. The Harbinger of the Raven is secretly a druid. Actually, that's really not that inaccurate of a statement. Yeah, Cards Against Humanity reminds me of about half of the Deadpool movie. I liked the Deadpool movie, but then there's the other half of it where I just kind of just shook my head at it, you know. What can I say? I am an old, boring kind of person. Actually, I'm not that old, but you know what I mean. I am just boring is the important part. Remember that. As you examine the damaged mask you ripped off of the fell corruptors, you hear strange sounds coming from within. If the mask wasn't damaged, you might be able to hear the sounds more clearly. I don't know about you guys, but if I pick up a mask and I start hearing voices coming from it, the first thing that is not on my mind is, man, I wish I could hear these more clearly. For the reference, the other half of the humor in Deadpool I found hilarious. Although, of course, I had a receptive audience, which is amazing, by the way. One of the best ways to enjoy a movie, in my opinion, is to have a really receptive audience. So, the only thing I have to share lore-wise here is how ridiculous this whole situation is. This is how the Burning Legion spends some of its time. I want you, our servants, to go around corrupting the animals there. And the servants say, why? And the Legion says, don't question us! We are the Legion. You will corrupt. Because that's what we do. Okay. Should we do anything else? No! Just corrupt them forever. Okay, then. We'll be off corrupting creatures for no reason. Anything else we can do for you? No! Continue to corrupt the creatures. It is our will. The Legion will rule all. Except we won't, because we'll actually kill all. Which reminds me of something else. People who join the Legion willing are so stupid. I mean, I guess that sounds kind of like a duh statement. But seriously, think about this for a moment. Even if the Legion doesn't absolutely flat out say, our goal is to kill all life, including you, the single most common reason people willingly join the Legion is for the power. Okay, I can get the allure of that. Having power is neat. There's one problem with that. Power is a means to an end. It is a tool. So the power is not actually what matters. It is what you can use the power for. So again, you get all this power, but what do you... I mean, the only thing you can use that power for is to serve your masters, and of course, hit level 70. Hang on. Oh, yeah, we're gonna get the flame, like, right there. As we're getting beat on. I'm telling you guys, selfies are dangerous. There we go. No, I can't do a proper British accent. But yeah, it's like, okay, so you have all this power, now what? That you don't get to use it for anything. Yeah, I know, isn't it, Azura? You should see the Worgen smile, it's much worse. So this is actually really ironic. We are very close to where I hit 70 for the very first time. I mean, we are like a half of a zone away. Or not a zone, but like half of a questing hub away. It's almost eerie how close we are to where I hit 70 on my very first 70. Well, see, a lot of the people who joined the Twilight's cultists, I can gotta get behind that. Number one, because they actively don't share what their long-term plans are. Number two, because a lot of those people are actually driven insane by it. I'm just going to show you this really quick, because this is amusing to me. You see this area right up here, this blackened area? Forge Camp Anger. So the Explorer X I got for Forge Camp Anger was my very first level 70. Walking into this spot right here was the first time I ever hit 70. And again, it was from the Explorer X, which, as I mentioned yesterday. That's how close we are between when I first hit 70 and when I last hit 70. It's just funny to me how similar that is. Anyways, we will actually go ahead and make a pit stop to train everything up after we finish up Blade's Edge, because we're actually pretty close to being done. We've got a couple more things to do, and then we're going to show off Ogrila, and then we'll go train up our fighting, and then the Nether Storm. And fortunately, we have the gold necessary to afford super fast flying, because why the hell wouldn't we?
Ah, the great outdoors.
I do not pride myself on knowing we have destroyed what Elune has created, but the corruption needed to be stopped. You know, if Elune really is a Naru... Well, I'm not going to say anything else. That would really throw a lot of Night Elf culture into question, wouldn't it? Is it done? Did you return some life? Oh, sorry. End voice. Is it done? Did you return some life dimensional? Ah, you destroyed many of those foul creatures. I can rest easy in that knowledge. There are so many that we could never kill them all, but you have given me hope. Perhaps I will try harder for the next few centuries to revive my beloved wood. No, I do not, Venters. I absolutely do not, in fact. Yeah, Valen's like, God, duh.
I am honored.
I'm sorry, but the idea that the second Lich King is equal in power to Lili. No. Anyways, once the Harbinger is aware of your attack on the flock, he'll be quick to respond. Ah, you have it! With this pendant, I'll be able to attune you to the Arakoa of Grishnath in such a way that you'll be able to comprehend their speech. This way we can gain a further understanding of the Arakoa and the nature of the Raven. I will need your help to do this. At Grishnath, totems left by the oracles of Raven enable the Arakoa to hear the word of Raven. Unfortunately, the language of the Arakoa is indecipherable. Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. We already know this.
Greetings.
Oh my god, that is so gnome. Okay, so
Seeing you.
This is a night elf. Well, this is a druidic base, basically, right? So we've got pools of magic and you know, moon wells and the candles and the flowers and all this mystical, magical stuff. And a gnome has looked at this pool and says, I wonder how this pool works. I'm going to drop one of my devices into it to try and scan the device, and this will enable me to understand the sacred power of the moon wells. That's just such a gnomish thing. I love it. Anyways.
Hey.
Don't be bothering. Can't you see I'm trying to unlock mysterious powers? Ah, what do you have? Oh, let's take a closer look, Paladin. Yes. It's just what I thought it was. Here, let me fix this mask for you. Okay, it should work now. What is it, you ask? Why, it's a communications device. It allows those blockheads to communicate with each other. You know, the Burning Legion. I'd suggest you hand this to Wild Lord Entelrelion. He's over there. Well, get moving. He's been trying to get his hands on one of these for some time.
Daylight's burning.
I love it. I love it. Oh, that mask you hold in your hand is a fell-sworn gas mask, and by the appearance, it's not damaged. The trouble we can cause Forge Camp Anger is boundless. Are you interested in helping us out? Okay. I have a very special mission for you, Velvaxus. I need you to infiltrate Forge Camp Anger east of here, and when you enter, you'll need to wear the gas mask and locate the Legion communicator. Then speak with whomever is on the other side of the device. If all works out, you can trick the demon into something devious. Try telling the demon that Anger Camp has revolted. Also, I like how Natasha just randomly follows around the, I suddenly can't think of that species name. The Keeper of the Grove. There we go. Follows around the Keeper. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, and I'm not, she occasionally says something. But it looks like nobody's written down the exact few things that they say. Ah, well, whatever. Yeah, me too, Psychotic. Remember when Wrath came out? It took forever to install and download. I love the Mana Forge in the distance there, by the way. It's a nice touch. Excuse me.
What's the meaning of this?
No one summons me. Speak, or I will silence you forever. For the moment I hear... for every moment I hear silence, you draw closer to your death. Speak! What? The camp has revolted? This cannot possibly be true. My minions would not dare undermine my authority. Very well. Every last one of them will pay for this treachery, and they will pay dearly. Silence them all and be done with it. Report back to me when you have carried out my order, or you shall be dealt with. Yes, that's right. A demon, well, a Burning Legion agent, just gave us an order to kill other Burning Legion. That is just so Burning Legion, I don't even have words for it. Oh, I need to check something really quick. 75, excellent, we're good. And of course she's wearing tier 3 Warlock gear. Just to mock those of us who never actually got a hold of it back in the day. A Blizzard version of Trivial Pursuit. I would actually probably be pretty good at that. Tough question, Psychotic. I would argue yes, personally. But that's based off of just my impressions of the two. There's no hard evidence either way. There's a lot of things we don't know specifically how they would work with undead, and any fel-infused creature, to my knowledge, has never been raised as an undead. I should rephrase that statement. Has never been raised as undead by the Scourge. The Legion has raised their own as undead more than once. In fact, Manaroth was actually raised as an undead, if you'll recall. Azura, I offer you honey cough drops. Here you go. Here you go. That will surely teach those that don't do as I say. By the way, where is Doomcrier? Why have you reported this revolt to me and not her? Doomcrier did nothing to stop the revolt. How dare she? She's been trying to undermine my authority for some time. However, this time will be her last. You must summon her. Deal with her personally. Her anger guards hold the keys that summon her to the Forge camp. Retrieve 5 keys and activate 5 obelisks. They have a short duration, so make sure they're all activated at the same time. That's true, Psychotic. In fact, I would actually not be surprised at all if the Lich King has been actively avoiding the Legion basically since Warcraft 3. Are there any more? Jeez Louise. I should actually be eating soon too, but I'd really like to finish up Blade's Edge before I eat for the morning. So that's what I'll do. I'll probably take my break early, quote-unquote, and then finish this up. Wow, this actually hurts. Holy crap. Who would have known Demon Guards could actually hurt? I'm in shock. Well, I was actually going to comment on that. This is very Legion. So the Legion in general tends to follow a stupid Darwinian policy. And I stress the fact that I say the word stupid. In other words, they're totally okay with engendering a society, for lack of a better term, where they're constantly trying to backbite and undercurrent each other. You know, cooperation is actually discouraged amongst the Burning Legion. Alright, that should be enough. So, are they not turning on? Anyways, now I get the general idea of why the Legion does that. It's to encourage the, you know, only the strong survive kind of a mentality. But I still call that a very stupid thing, since, well, I shouldn't even have to explain why I call that a really stupid thing, should I? They not? Come on, wake up. There we go. Well, there's also one other reason to encourage that kind of a society, and that's the fact that if you have a society where everyone is constantly trying to backbite each other, this could also be referred to as a Sith society, by the way, in addition to Drow, then you have a society in which it is very difficult for those below to challenge those above. In other words, it's a good way to hold on to power, to make sure your control over the organization is not questioned, because everyone below you is constantly fighting amongst each other. Which is the other major reason to do that kind of a thing. By the way, you see these Ethereals here? They're actually working with another group of Ethereals we'll be talking about in just a minute. I just want you to keep that in the back of your mind. One of the other problems with the Legion is that their numbers are huge. The massive amount of the armies of the Legion is almost incalculable. So to them, they really, really don't care about losses. They have no problem at all just flinging thousands and thousands of their own troops to gain even a small victory, because they've got trillions more. Exactly, Hylisk. Of course they revolted. How dare they? This is great news indeed. I could have not asked for a better outcome. Your service to our people is greatly appreciated. Well, you're welcome. We aim to please. Now there's an even greater threat from the Burning Legion. We're just now friendly with the expedition. To the south is a portal known as Death's Door, which opens upon the horrific world in which the Legion breeds its deadly hounds. Ah, yes, thank you for reminding me, Junkies. Where's my actual helmet? There it is. I'm just gonna get rid of that. I gotta be honest, if the Legion has an overpopulation problem, then holy crap. Yeah, basically, Dakota. Now, what Magister says is actually a good question. And it's my personal opinion that the Netherezim are extremely skilled and talented crafters. I've said this many, many times. And there's a lot of examples of this. Yes, it was, Sufsir. That was the quest helm I got off of the mobs there. Anyway, so there's a lot of examples of how the skilled at crafting and designing and whatever else you want to call that, tool making, that the Netherezim are, especially when it comes to magical tools. However, it is my personal opinion that the Netherezim are so skilled at it that they are capable of making stuff that they can't control. If you know what I mean. And that is my personal opinion on what happened with the Lich King. They probably could have enforced control over him right up until and including when he was still in the Frozen Throne. The moment he was broken out, The moment he suddenly had the ability to move around on his own, I feel like he had moved past their control, and that's why they used a backup plan in order to try and take him down. Just my take on it. To my knowledge, yes, Zawon Joker, since we get some hints of the fact that several of the demons that the player warlocks use have been bargained with rather than enslaved. The Sayad are different. They're not crafters. They're well, I mean, this sounds so obvious to say that I don't even know what else to add. They are seducers. That's what they do. They are very, very good at turning different groups of people against each other by seducing them to their will. By the way, for reference, in lore, there are both male and female Sayad. There are incubus and succubi. Incubi and succubi, excuse me. I just feel like pointing that out because I've been asked it before. Dreadlords can be pretty strong, personally, but again, Dreadlord's strength is more in the similarity to Titan strength. In other words, while they are strong, most of their actual strength comes in their tools and their knowledge, rather than in raw power. Again, the guy with a machine gun, rather than, you know, a bear or whatever. Let's see. Let's think about how many major Nethrezim we've seen in Azeroth, because there's actually been a few that are in WoW who I don't remember all the names of, but of the major ones we've had Mal'Ganis, Balnazar, Veramothras, I can't think of the other big one's name. Mal'Ganis, Balnazar, Veramothras. I can't think of the other one. Deatharok, that was the other one's name. Deatharok. And then Tichondrius. And I think those are the big ones we've seen. We've seen several other lesser Nethrezim, but most of those are more like just, you know, little named Nethrezim, rather than, you know, the big world movers. Like Tichondrius was a higher lieutenant of Archimonde. Arguably one of the highest ranked members of the entire Legion. And I hope to God he's dead permanently because, damn it, I'm sick of them coming back from the dead. Morning, Nethrezim. We were just talking about you, sort of. I raised my eyebrow at you, Cashel. The boss in Stratholme was Balnazar. He was the one of. He was the one who had replaced Datharan. That's a very tricky question, Jedi Mew. My automatic answer would be no. Just don't give that kind of control to the players. They cannot be trusted with it. Giving tools to the players, though? Couple ideas. Give them the equivalent of the Foundry. If you haven't played STO or Neverwinter, the Foundry is a form of dev toolkit where you can make your own quests and cutscenes and whatnot within the game. And I think that would help that kind of a situation.
Greetings.
So, we've turned into the prophecy. I should go ahead and read you the prophecy. Excuse me, just a moment here. Steel your minds and guard your thoughts. The dark wings will cloud and consume the minds of the weak. A flock of thralls whose feet may never leave the ground. The old blood will flow once again with the coming of the raven, the return of the darkness in the skies, scarlet night, the rise of the old. From the darkest night shall again rise the raven, taking flight in shadows, and shall reveal the true nature of its kind. Prepare yourself for its coming, for the faithful shall be elevated to take flight with the raven, and the rest will be forgotten to walk on the ground, clipped wings and shame. The raven was struck down once for flying too high, unready. The eons have prepared the Dark Watcher for its ascent, to draw the dark cloak across the horizon. The idea here being that this is referring to the Curse of Seth, which I've referred to you guys many times, and the promise that as long as you follow the raven, he will give you your wings back. And as we know, there is nothing the Arakoa treasure more than the idea of being able to take back to the sky. And, yeah. They will be willing to do significant things for that benefit.
Good luck, friend.
Alright, last little quest hub for the zone here. Lol, Jengis. Clearly then, the Netherzeem are not evil. Yeah, being able to build a garrison wherever you want, and actually being able to design it like, I don't know, like a game where you can design your own stuff. That's a hard one to really come up with a good example of. Fallout 4, I guess, would be really cool. Also, who of you used to go into this area right here just by jumping down the things rather than taking the long path down? I'll go ahead and raise my hand on that one. Okay. Ah, there he is.
Greetings.
It's a relief. Antelarion has sent you to us. The problem is much worse than we first feared. We must shut down the Burning Legion's access to the Death's Door, but first you're going to have to destroy their warp gates. Problem is we can't even scratch one of those things. You're going to need to use their own weapons against them. The Death's Might, Death's Watch over... The Death's Might, Death's Watch, Death Forge Oversmiths, and Death Forge Technicians. That's a lot of death. Carry the ammunition for the cannons. If you bring the cannons to me, I will imbue them with nature's unbridled wrath. Of course I have, Zoan. What kind of question is that? I will admit that Tor's housing design is pretty good. Rift actually has really good housing as well, actually. For anybody who's ever played that one. So yeah, if we had like that kind of control over setting up a garrison or a house or whatever in WoW, yeah, I'd totally do that. I doubt they'd ever do that. That's a lot of programming and time necessary to do that. But we can dream, right? So let's go ahead and fill out that question. Someone earlier said they would do a garrison in the Grizzly Hills. Where would you put if you had to pick one zone, and you can only pick one zone in all of WoW, any expansion, any continent that you could set up your own custom garrison in? Where would you put it? I'd have to think about my answer on that one because there's a bunch of zones that come to mind immediately. I don't understand that question, Takoida. Anyone could be a druid. Also, yeah, Taurens have been druids since before Night Elves were druids. Taurens are the first druids. So, you know. Grizzly Hills! Ah, damn, I am very torn on that. Because there's so many awesome zones in this game. And so many places I would love to call home. Yes, it has, Jedi Mule. That's a good topic, and it's kind of why I bring this up. For those of you not aware, player housing was a thing before WoW came out. several other MMOs had introduced the concept of player housing prior to WoW ever being released. And the catch there has always been the fact that Blizzard devs have basically always said no. Now, that's not 100% true. There was actually once upon a time going to be a degree of player housing in Stormwind. They actually specifically added some background work for it to actually be done, and they never actually finished that. So we never actually got the... Oops, I forgot to get this quest. So we never actually got the housing in Stormwind, and so they just kind of let it sit to the side and let it sit to the side. And the next thing that was poked at was the idea of having your own ship. Like actually having a ship on the ocean that would be your ship, and therefore it would be in its own instance, and you could customize it and yada yada yada. That, of course, fell apart. The next attempt they tried at housing was actually the farm in Pandaria, believe it or not. But hang on just a second.
The winds guide you.
These things stink more than I thought they would. Quick, hand them over to me and I'll imbue them with nature's force, such that they will prove extremely deadly to their fell masters and their unnatural creation. Now that the ammunition can affect the Legion, it's time for you to use it. There are 2 warp gates, which are used for teleportation and enhancement of the Void Terrors. One to the south, one to the north. Use the naturalized ammunition and take control of the cannons. Attack the gate. Kill the defenders. Keep the cannon alive.
May the eternal sun shine upon you.
I can do that. Personally, I think several MMOs have pulled off housing well. UO, of course, is the obvious one. I would also say that I went the wrong way. I would also say that Asheron's Call had really good housing. And, of course, Rift has good housing. I also really enjoyed Lotro's housing system as well. And I know you're all going to hate me for this, but I actually really liked Wildstar's housing system as well. For the many flaws that game had, I really spent a lot of time in my house just setting up and decorating. Even though the in-game benefits you can get from it were kind of, meh, it was still fun. But will WoW ever actually introduce a proper housing system? Honestly, at this point, I imagine not. For 2 big reasons. Number 1, legitimately or otherwise, there has been a lot of complaints about garrisons. And as we all know, garrisons was one of their attempts to kind of dip their toe into the idea of player housing. And it flopped. Now, of course, one of the main reasons it flopped was because of the design of the garrisons. I mean, let's at least be honest with ourselves about that. But, is this thing gonna fire? But the fact of the matter is, Blizzard tends to listen to feedback. It's the same reason they're not going to do another Bashir zone. It's the same reason they're not going to redo Outland, etc., etc. So, yeah, we're very unlikely to get it because of the garrison problem. The second reason we're unlikely to get it is right now Blizzard is struggling to keep up with making enough content for us to consume as is. The idea that they would actually set aside an entire development team whose only job is to make a housing mechanic is kind of unlikely at this point. However, unlikely or not, that is the... Oh, right, I'm stupid. I actually have to hit a button. I didn't even see this bar over here. I'm so used to having my own custom bars. Anyways, that being said, what I just said is the most likely method by which we will ever see housing, if they ever just hire a separate development team who has nothing to do with the content production, and that development team's only job is creating this new engine and this new design for the housing system. I admittedly also don't know if they could fit it into the WoW engine. I don't know. I don't know if that functionality could exist within it. Another interesting little factoid. Back in the day, you could actually buy items in a garrison that you could then set up throughout the course of the garrison. Now you might be like, well, what do you mean? Like spikes, for example, is the one thing I remember from the beta. God dang it. Kind of Takoida, but mostly no. The imps are trying to stop me from destroying the gate. Which is ironic when you think about it. In general, I've been playing this game since the alpha. But yeah, so in the beta of Warlords, you could actually buy items to, oh my god. You can actually buy items to just plant around themselves, decor-wise, you know, just pure cosmetic doodads kind of a thing. And it was actually really cool. And, the quest should be done, and isn't. Interesting. Also, I don't know about you, Arabity, but I would totally want Pandaria furniture, or Pandaran furniture in my house. Have you seen their beds? They look so comfortable. My first thought, by the way, as a zone where I would put a house would be Icecrown. I'd really have to think about that, though. Because there's a lot of other zones I'd love to put it into. No, Dark Delver. Outland is actually very limited in lore. Because of the fact that it's just the one continent. Ah! You mean in place of the Lich King, I think. See you around, Bragwin. No, it'd be great, Takoida. It'd be great. It'd be awesome. I would also be tempted by Bashir, Storm Peaks. I would be very tempted by, the Valley of the Four Winds would be one of the first places that came to mind. Actually, you can stop spawning. There we go. In fact, I got to be honest. Valley of the Four Winds is probably my number 2 pick. I might even pick it over Icecrown. Sargeras was never an Outland, to my knowledge, no. Let's try to do this properly this time. If this screws up again, I'll just move on. Actually, it's kind of funny now that it occurs to me, Kill Jaden's never been an Outland either. He sent a projection of himself to Outland, but he never actually has been here. I think actually the biggest demon who has ever been present in Outland is Magtheridon. A big demon, to be sure, but still. Oh yes, Takoida. This is absolutely a group quest. I remember this quest actually being pretty rough back in the day. If they made it limited to racial cities, that's a really tough one then. The Eye of Sargeras is the name of an artifact. It's not actually Sargeras' eye. So, yes, is the answer to your question. There we go. Oh no, Titans are about the size of mountains on average. Like, we actually have a pretty good idea of how large Titans are. Hey, Sigma. Where you been, man?
The winds guide you.
Alright. Baelman, the Houndmaster, must die. He maintains the ritual that keeps the portal functioning. The Death's Door portal is located at the north end of the canyon. When you find it, you'll find Baelman. You're going to need help on this one, so take this wand. When you battle him, use it, and a couple of my friends will come to aid you.
May the
Also,
eternal
this is
sun
technically a
shine
group
upon
quest,
you.
so you should probably go here and be helping with that. Ah, gotcha, Sigma. I understand. It's okay, you've just missed me being sick for a few days. I will discuss that when we get there, King Bubble. Because obviously we're going to be doing Black Temple. Outland used to be the planet Draenor. Draenor was torn apart by a massive amount of portal energies, which all tore the planet apart and basically destroyed most of it, and the shattered remnants of the planet were left to roam into the Twisting Nether, except they aren't fully in the Twisting Nether. It's more like they are half in the Twisting Nether and half just kind of floating through the cosmos. It's a mess, basically. I'm amazed I have aggro off of those Ents. I mean, seriously. I'm out damaging some Ents. Yay! Okay. No, Archimonde came... Well, okay, Archimonde originally came from Argus, which is the Draenei homeworld, because Archimonde himself was one of them. But if you mean where Archimonde came from, otherwise, somewhere in the Twisting Nether, some other Legion stronghold, possibly Argus, we don't actually know. But he was summoned from... basically. So we did it. You are truly an amazing blood elf. If I thought we were indebted to you before, there's no way we could ever repay you. But I will try. Thank you, heroine of the grove. Please take these blue necklaces that are worse than your current one in every way.
Peace, friend. Walk with the earth, mother.
Unsuspecting Leafbeard. And a Grishna Arakoa, who then curses the Ent. That's really messed up when you think about it. And then possesses the Ent with the spirit of the Arakoa. Which again is pretty messed up. Oh, he definitely said that, Mind Blast. We must undo this evil that the Arakoa are perpetuating on the protectors of Raven's Wood.
I've been
This is troubling.
expecting you.
They're causing the ancients and protectors to be possessed by their own evil spirit. The Koi Koi is what they're called. But there's one ancient that cannot possibly affect it. His name is Treebol, and you must save him at once. Go, quickly!
Ancestors watch
I'm going. Yeesh. That is true, Scadison. That was what summoned Magister. Hi, Fu. While I'm in this direction anyways, I'm going to go ahead and head over this way. Well, nah, we'll do that next. really wish I... Yeah, whatever. It's my own fault. It's my own fault. Oh, gotcha, Magister. Don't forget Kel'Thuzad had to use a specific leyline nexus point, which was right next to Dalaran. And they built Dalaran there specifically because of that leyline nexus point. So it required an incredibly powerful summoner, Kel'Thuzad. It required the connection of all of the leyline points, so tremendous amount of power. And it required an artifact, the Book of Medivh, in order to actually pull it off. So it took quite a bit of energy and power to summon Archimonde, as it always does. Hi, Grunge. This is why I don't use Facebook. We've talked about Dalaran a little bit. We haven't really yet because we haven't actually seen it on screen yet, and we'll actually be going there later. So... greetings, tiny blood elf. The birds in my bows whispered to me that you are to be expected. Are you here to help me free the trees of their possessions? The Grishna have caused the leafbeards and stonebarks to be inhabited by evil koi spirits. We must save the trees, or soon all of the Raven's Wood will be lost forever. Combine the magic of the Grishnath orb with a dire pin feather from a dire raven. The resultant exorcism feather will draw out, and then you can slay the koi spirit as quickly as possible. Okay. So that means I need feathers. Insert ME3 rant. I stand by my statement, although some, of course, disagree with me on this. Legacy of the Void did what Mass Effect 3 didn't. But yeah, nothing else I can add to that. Nope, nope. Ah, crap. Okay, where's my feather? Oh, I need an orb. God damn it. No, stop killing me. Stop killing me. No, why are you killing me? Yeah. They're all kind of contained, Dark Delver. They can't leave that galaxy, so they're not really a threat. Oh my god. Ah, stop killing me. Ah! Leave me alone. Leave me alone. Okay. Hi. You're right, we should be talking about FF13. Personally, I think FF13 is the best game in the known universe. The only thing that can make FF13 better is if Mass Effect 3 and FF13 were actually the same game. Like, Lightning is actually Shepard. Or maybe Liara, I think actually might be a better fit. So picture as if Lightning is actually Liara. Just in a different time, like years and years later, obviously, long after Mass Effect 3 actually happens. So Mass Effect 3 is actually a prequel to FF13, is what I'm trying to say here. And Kai Lang is actually Barthandelus. I mean, if you think about it. No, Permeus, come back! No! Crap. Well, I just lost Permeus. That sucks. Kyling is snow. Heroes don't need brains. Or character motivations. Or coherent lines of dialogue. My inventory is getting a little full. I think I'm going to have to fix that. Absolutely not, Scatterson. God, that was so stupid. Chocolina. Ugh. No, this place is much, much better than Fangorn, Grudge. This place has evil bird spirit creatures who are actively trying to follow and revere someone who is actually completely evil, although they don't know that, because they think he'll be able to restore their power of flight. And ogres. Ogres are here, and Gronn. There's also cultists. Cultists are here too. On top of everything else. Hey, Raskor. Elissa Zydele. You're gonna have to remind me who that is, because I am not good with names. Okay, let's try and save some Ents, shall we? If there are any left to save, which there might not be. Because some jack person is running around killing them all. Ah! Okay. Actually, Ents are a natural progress of natural spirits entering into trees and woods and that kind of a thing, so it's pretty logical for Ents to be anywhere where there's this kind of natural spirits, which is most places that we're aware of, and of course for any place that has woods, which this place has. I don't really have anything to talk about that person, Nicholas. I suppose I will say, they exist! Technically. There you go, there's my thoughts. Big, complicated thoughts, obviously. Actually, there are Ents on the Eastern Kingdoms, usually. I mean, yeah. Ah, the evil is lifting from the Raven's Woods. Can you feel it, Valvaxis? You have saved us and all the surrounding wildlife from certain destruction. I have kept stashed 4 magic rings. Oh god, they're willing to give us magic rings too. Guys, I have a bad feeling about this. Okay, so we're going to show off 2 more things before we leave the Blade's Edge Mountains. We're actually going to abandon this, because there's no reason to do that one. Is Jade Empire part of the Imperium? No. There's no real purpose in it being part of the Imperium. Yeah, I was going to say, the Wetlands ones were brought there, and then spread on their own. So this is Bashir's Landing, no relation to Deep Space Nine. These are the Bashir Ethereals. These are some interesting individuals. You'll notice they have extensive mana production facilities here. And in fact, this is kind of cool. So you see that guy right there? Here, let me get the camera in quite a bit here. Yeah, there we go. He's walking through this interesting device that they have invented here. And it's not transforming him, even though it should be doing so. Well, whatever. These ethereals are actually very important to the overall plotline, believe it or not. These ethereals are not here for any purpose other than the fact that they are trying to convey all of the massive, and I mean absolutely massive, amount of mana that is being pumped out of the Nether Storm. Now, can anyone guess where all of this mana is being pumped to? But yeah, that's the reason for this facility. This is probably the single largest energy collection facility and transference facility that the Ethereals have in all of Outland. they were paid quite handsomely by Kael'thas in order to do this. So yeah, all of this energy is being pumped to the Magister's Terrace. This energy is all the stuff that will eventually be able to reignite the Sunwell, so the Sunwell can be used as a power source for the summoning of Kil'jaeden into Azeroth. So thanks, Ethereals. Appreciate the help there. The last thing I want to show off. I've kind of really already talked about everything that needs to be said about this. I just kind of want to show it off while I'm here. Is this way, yes. No, they're just making raw power. Yes, the Ethereal's homeworld was consumed by the Void. We'll talk more about that in Netherstorm. Because we'll actually be encountering 3 groups of Ethereals in the Netherstorm. The Consortium, the Protectorate, and the Ethereum. We are 2 zones away from being done with Outland, Foo. So here's the Ogrila dailies. The Burning Legion has set up forge camps up here on the plateaus. Fun fact, the only way to get up here is with flying mounts. This was done as kind of a way for, you know, if you had flyings, you could go up and do these extra quests. Sketties was done like this too. But in addition to the forge camps, there's these things. Lots and lots and lots of Apexis crystals. For those of you who haven't heard me talk about them in brief, the Apexis were an extremely, extremely advanced and powerful race of beings that we don't actually 100% know who or what they were. I have theories on the matter, of course, but those are just theories. Now, one thing we do know for a fact that Apexis does is it helps repair, reinforce, and fix. This is one of the reasons why our good friend Khadgar wanted to use the Apexis crystals in the creation of your legendary ring in Warlords. So these are ogres. All of these ogres up here are intelligent. Now at the time that was a big, oh my god, intelligent ogres. But as we've actually learned since then, intelligent ogres actually aren't all that common. In fact, ogres used to be intelligent by the norm. Now, there's one other little niggling detail I want to mention here. I've given my theory more than once that the shattering of Draenor into Outland was one of the main reasons why so many of the ogres we encounter out here are, to put it as nicely as I can, stupid. I gotta be careful here. Make sure I'm only getting rid of the right stuff. Yeah, I really need to empty my bags, or which I have just done. And that massive amount of magical energy affected them, and that's one of the reasons that made them so kind of a thing. Now, there is a counter-argument to that. That counter-argument is the fact that there are several ogres we see in Warcraft 2 and who have come through the portal before the shattering of Outland who are obviously stupid. And that is a valid point, to which I have 2 counterpoints. Number 1, even amongst those ogres, we have intelligent ogres. They are the exception, but they're there. Cho'Gall, of course, is the obvious one, but there's one in particular, I forget his name, who is here in Dustwallow Marsh, specifically at the Brackenwall Village. There's a couple of others, too. There's one in Fairloss as well. So those ogres are... so there are actually intelligent ogres in Azeroth, a.k.a. ones who were unaffected by the shattering into Draenor. Next point that I want to point out is that the odds of the demonic horde bringing forth all of this tons of intelligent ogres into Azeroth as part of their fighting force is unlikely. It is more likely the demonic horde and all the ogres they were using as part of their mulch forces, basically, were the stupid ogres, the ogres that they had no problem controlling and keeping a hold of. So most of the ogres brought through the portal, and ergo most of the ogres that are in Azeroth were stupid to begin with, long before any of this, because there are stupid ogres, just like there are stupid of every race. That's my thoughts on the matter. So, yeah. But anyways, getting back to the point, though, whether the Apexis crystals either literally make the ogres smarter or return them to a state of being intelligent. But one way or another, the ogres here are intelligent ogres as a result. Now, this is actually kind of neat. Ogres have a concept called Ogrila. Now, you're probably looking at me weird because we're in Ogrila right now, but let me try and explain. The concept of Ogrila... I actually need to do this. The concept of Ogrila is basically ogre heaven. It's this wonderful place that's high up, because ogres tend to be simple. It's high up, and it contains, it's a peaceful, beneficial place for all of ogre kind. So when the ogres actually found this place that was high up, that was a peaceful, beneficial place for all of ogre kind, they were like, aha! We shall call this place Ogrila, because they kind of assumed it was Ogrila. It's just a nice little anecdote. Where am I going? Where am I going? Right, I know where I'm going. I know exactly where I'm going. Although... yes. I'm not even a comment on the what Nicolas just said.
Greetings.
All right, cold weather flying and artisan flying.
Strength.
We are now even faster. God, that feels so much nicer. You probably can't even tell. It is noticeable to me. So the next zone we will be doing is the Nether Storm. Dun, 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 dun. But before we do that, we're going to take a break, because I would like to eat. So, I'm going to go do that. And I'll see you guys in just a bit.
Speak, friend. For the Horde.
For the Horde.